My name is Victoria Kelley. I found out about the New Hampshire biotech program in a newspaper article one day, and I said, gee, that sounds really interesting. I had graduated from UNH in '97 with a degree in zoology, and I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with it, but biotech sounded really exciting, and so with my degree background I was able to join just the certificate program, took research methods in the fall, and in the spring I took manufacturing methods. And somewhere in the middle of that, they offered a mini course in validation. And our instructor said it'd be a really great opportunity to add to your resume if you wanted to give it a try. So I added the extra couple of nights a week of class, spent a lot of time in this room, and got a crash course in validation. Graduated in the spring and went on a couple of interviews, but I also work as a pharmacy technician, or I used to work as a pharmacy technician, kind of biding my time. And one day, I got an email from Sonia saying that there was a position out there in validation, and I interviewed for it, and that was about a year and a half ago, and I've been working in validation as a contractor ever since. So I was actually really lucky when it comes to the job search. It sort of found me. Gosh, as I said, I'm a contractor. We go to other validation company sites, other pharmaceutical sites, excuse me. And when they're bringing processes or equipment online, we go and check it out for them, get them on board so that when the FDA comes and audits, they're totally above board and they have everything. The machines are shaken down and are going to do exactly what their companies are going to ask them to do. I'm not sure what else to add besides that, but it does involve some traveling. There's not so many companies right around here. I currently live in Kingston. We've been hitting some companies and within an hour and a half's drive. So it's I completely advise, if you're going to do that kind of traveling, to get a library card and check out the audiobook selection at the library, because it really comes in handy sitting in traffic on 495 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's one definitely helpful hint that I can offer you. One exciting thing is I'm actually, day after tomorrow, I'm leaving for Baltimore to do a small 3-day stint qualifying a couple of incubators down there. So it's definitely an interesting situation. I get to see a lot of different companies and how they're set up, how their structures are, what they do, their process. And it's basically, it's never boring. It's the best thing I can say. Thank you. Nature of the business, getting our contracts approved, getting the documentation approved. There's sometimes some hold time, and then there's other times when suddenly things come kind of crashing together, and we've got 4 clients to try to satisfy, and how can we extend the workday? So, as I say, we have it's a little of both, but we've basically been busy. There was a point where one of our clients had a construction delay where we expected to be able to start in a given month, and it took, one more week, until we finally were able to get in there and get what we needed to do. For example, one of the systems, what I'm going to Baltimore to do is an incubator. So there's a machine called the K validator, and essentially what it is a computer with a bunch of wires hooked up to it that become thermometers. They call them thermocouples. And you attach the thermocouples inside the incubator chamber, close the door, and then set it for its normal cycle. And then the computer keeps track of, at whatever time interval you set it, the computer keeps track of what the temperature is in all these different locations throughout the chamber. And so if for some reason there's one section, and there are acceptance criteria. They want, say for example, typically incubators like to run at about 37°C for most biological processes. So if there's an area that's running too hot or too cold, the client's going to want to know about it. It may become a maintenance issue, something they're going to have to fix. One interesting example, there was a client that we had that we were writing the documentation. You write basically a system of tests. It's like, okay, when we're done, we're going to prove that this unit can hold temperature to a certain degree for a certain amount of time consistently, that it's connected to the right electrical service, that it's installed properly, that it's stable, that it can be cleaned, that all the buttons work, all the alarms do what they say they're going to do. Because if there was a transport or shipping problem, you may not know about it until you kind of test it and test all the functions. So I was writing this program, this test protocol, and the client wanted it to run at minus 20 C, and the unit was all the documentation said that it ran at minus 30. So I called technical support and I said, okay, so how do I change the temperature set point in the unit? And they said, you don't. Sorry, you don't? He says, yeah, no, it's hardwired. You can change it, but it kind of voids the warranty. Plus, this thing has a defrost cycle where the temperature in the unit comes up as much as 10 degrees, 15 degrees for a certain amount of time, and then it cycles back down to clear the frost off the coils. He says, so if you're running it at minus 20, you're risking thawing your product. So we really don't advocate running it at that temperature. So I had to go back to the client and say, and I have some not so good news for you. This thing's not going to do what you want it to do. And they ended up having to ship it back to the company and buying a completely different unit that wasn't designed to do what they wanted it to do. So it's basically matching up the design to what the intended purpose is, and then making sure that we can prove that it does what it's intended to do, what it's designed to do reliably. So it involves a lot of word processing, a lot of Excel, data crunching. I would advocate that you be real good at Word and Excel to get into something like this, but